My golden sister got everything, house, accounts, jewelry, because Mom said she was a miracle we waited 11 years for. Then that miracle sold the house, evicted our parents, moved to New York, and came back broke. She stood in my kitchen and said, "If you disappeared right now, we wouldn't miss you, because I deserve your home now." I just whispered, "Perfect. Let me disappear with my money." That night, their cards failed, her car was gone, and a letter arrived. My home was never mine, I whispered to myself, standing in the kitchen that used to smell like cardamom and roasted coffee. The same kitchen where my mother taught me to stir stew without burning the onions. The same one my sister now stood in, barefoot, entitled, and empty-eyed. She leaned against the counter like she owned the place. Technically, she did. "You're lucky," she said, sipping my almond milk. Mom said I was the miracle they waited 11 years for. So yeah, I deserved more. That word again, miracle. As if I was the fluke that came too soon, and she was the golden ticket. My younger sister Lena, born 11 years after me, after our mother nearly gave up hope of more children. The miracle child. The adored one. She got the house, the family savings, Mom's jewelry, the stocks. I got a polite thank you note when they redistributed assets while I was working 60-hour weeks to keep my apartment. I never complained. Not even when they made me co-signer on Lena's first credit card. Not when Mom called and said, "Your sister deserves this. She's still finding herself." I kept paying, kept sending cash when Lena's rent was late, when her boyfriend disappeared with her savings, when she needed a reset. And then, a year ago, she sold the house. Our childhood home. The one with the lemon tree Dad planted for me when I turned 10. She sold it without telling anyone. Moved our parents into a cramped condo, flew to New York with designer dreams and a suitcase full of ambition. It lasted 6 months. Now she's back. Broke. Furious. Entitled. And tonight, she crossed a line. Standing in my kitchen, in my house, she looked at me with disdain and said, "If you disappeared right now, we wouldn't miss you. Because I deserve your home now." I didn't flinch. I didn't scream. I just whispered, "Perfect. Let me disappear with my money." That night, I made 3 calls. By morning, Lena's car was gone. Their shared credit cards declined. A letter arrived, unmarked, cold, and final. Lena was born when I was 11. They called her a miracle. I called her the day my life stopped being mine. Before Lena, I was the son who mattered. I got hugs for good grades. My drawings were taped on the fridge. Dad used to say I had an engineer's brain and let me help him fix things around the house. I was going to grow up and build things. Maybe even take over Grandpa's business someday. Then Mom got pregnant, unexpectedly, miraculously, and suddenly, I was just the first draft. She came out crying and never stopped. From day one, she was everything. Lena got the big nursery, the custom nameplate on the door. I got moved to the attic. She threw food, Mom giggled. She failed math, Mom blamed the teacher. She lied, manipulated, wrecked things. She's just sensitive. And when I said it wasn't fair, "You're older," Mom snapped. "Be patient. Be grateful." I learned to shut up. I became the responsible one. The invisible one. While Lena spiraled from tantrum to tantrum, I kept our world stitched together. First job at 14. First paycheck at 15, Mom borrowed it for Lena's ballet fees. Every milestone of mine was just another background prop for her spotlight. College? I paid my way. 2 jobs. No vacations. No calls from home. Lena didn't finish community college, and Mom threw her a self-discovery party. I graduated with honors. No one showed up. Then Grandpa died. The house, the one we both grew up in, should have come to me. I fixed the leaky pipes. Painted the walls. I spent summers sanding that porch with Grandpa while Lena posed for selfies by the lemon tree I planted. But when the will was read, the house was Mom's, and within weeks, it was Lena's. "She needs a foundation," Mom said. "She's fragile." Fragile? She was 26. I was 37, paying for my own mortgage, sending money home every time Dad's blood pressure spiked or the fridge broke down. But Lena? She needed a fresh start. So she sold it. Quietly. Cashed out over $900,000, moved our parents into a shoebox apartment in a rough neighborhood, and vanished to New York. There, she became an artist. Posted filtered selfies in cafes, ranted about energy vampires, and burned through cash like the city would pay her for existing. Tesla. Luxury skincare. Rent at $4,200 a month. Meanwhile, I was wiring our parents' money because Lena forgot. I stayed silent. Then 6 months later, she returned, bankrupt, boyfriendless, bleach blonde, and wearing my hoodie like it belonged to her. You know, she said casually, dumping her suitcase on my floor, I always hated that house. You made it so uptight. No plants, no soul. But this place? Your place? It breathes. I stood there frozen. She walked into my kitchen like it was hers. Opened my fridge. Took the last almond milk. You've always had trouble sharing, she continued, sipping it. But it's okay. I'm home now. Home? She was pacing now, energized like a vulture that spotted a wounded animal. Mom says you've always had this hoarding thing. Not just money. Energy. You suck it in and don't give it back. It's why no one gets close to you. Why people forget you. Then she looked me dead in the eye. I deserve this home more. I'm the miracle. You're just filler. It was like being hit by a truck going 200 miles an hour. But I didn't scream. I didn't throw her out. I didn't even blink. I just whispered, perfect. And that night, I did. I made 3 calls. Quiet ones. By dawn, her car was gone. Her credit cards? Frozen. The joint account our parents used? Emptied. And a courier dropped off one unmarked letter at Mom's new place. Inside, a single line. The miracle is over. Handle your own mess. And for the first time in my life, I felt free. The house was silent when I woke up, except for the sound of someone pacing. Floorboards creaked under impatient steps. A cabinet slammed. Then another. By the time I walked into the kitchen, Lena was already in full meltdown. My cards are frozen, she said, voice sharp. I tried paying for groceries and it declined. I thought it was a glitch. But then I checked my bank. 0 balance. And where is my car? She wasn't asking. She was accusing. You ungrateful, she growled. You cut me off? I took a sip of coffee, calm as a sniper. No. I finally removed you from me. Her nostrils flared. You can't just erase me. I'm your sister. No. Lena, I said, setting the mug down. You're a parasite. You think you're better than me? She hissed. You've always been bitter because Mom loved me more. Loved you. I laughed. She sacrificed me for you. That's not love. That's mismanagement of guilt. You're disgusting, she spat. Mom was right to give me the house. You were always the cold one. The outsider. I brought them joy. You brought bills. I stepped closer. You sold their home behind their backs. You dumped them in a cheap apartment. Then you blew through the inheritance and came crawling to me. Now you're mad I finally said no. And no one ever says NO2 family, she screamed. That's why we're broken, I said. Because no one ever drew a line. The doorbell rang. Lena froze. I already knew. I opened the door. Our parents stood there, Mom clutching a grocery bag, Dad pale and sweating. Mom's first words. Why did the pharmacy say our account is closed? I stepped back, letting them in. Because it is, I said. I stopped paying. Mom blinked. You're cutting us off? I'm reclaiming my life. Dad took a step forward. Son, you've always been the stable one. We needed you. And I needed you when I was 15 and working 2 jobs while Lena got piano lessons, I snapped. I needed you when she crashed her 3rd car and blamed me. When she told me to disappear and you just nodded. Lena was hurting, Mom whispered. She didn't mean it. She meant every word, I said. And so do I. You're abandoning your family, Dad said. For what? Pride. For peace. Lena folded her arms. Well, so this is it. You're playing God now. No. God forgives. I'm just done playing victim. I reached into the drawer. Pulled out 3 envelopes. Handed one to each of them. Legal notice, I said. You're removed from my accounts. Lena, the car was repossessed. It was under my name. Your credit cards? Closed. And that rent you've been freeloading on for 3 months? Paid through Friday. Then I changed the locks. You're serious, Mom said, her voice trembling. As serious as when you told me to sit out Christmas because Lena was having a rough year. As serious as when Dad said, it's just money, Alex. Help your sister. Dad clenched his fists. You'll regret this. No, I said. I regret it every year I didn't do it. Lena was shaking now. So what? You just cut us loose? Like we're nothing. You made yourselves nothing the moment you decided I only mattered when you needed something. Mom started crying. Real, helpless sobs. We don't have anyone else. You had me. And you broke me, I said. Now you can figure it out. I turned to Lena. You said if I disappeared, no one would miss me. I stepped forward until we were eye to eye. So I did. And guess what? I don't miss any of you either. She hit me. I staggered a step back. The room froze. Then I smiled. You just made this easier, I said. I walked past them, grabbed her suitcases, and tossed them out the front door, one by one. You've got until sundown. You're heartless, she said, voice cracking. No, I said. I finally have a heart. And I'm using it on myself. Mom collapsed into a kitchen chair, sobbing into her hands. Dad just stood there, face hollow. You were supposed to be better than this, he said. I am, I replied. And then I opened the door wide. Out. They walked out slowly, like they were still waiting for me to stop them, to brake, to backtrack. But I didn't. I locked the door. I stood there in the silence after, hand on the knob, my cheek still stinging from Lena's slap. And then I laughed. Loud. Free. Real. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't the background character in someone else's melodrama. I was the one who lit the match and watched the rot finally burn. I slammed the door and burned the road behind me. The silence after they left wasn't peaceful. It was surgical. For 37 years, my life had been a crowded hallway of guilt, obligation, and manipulation. The moment the door clicked shut, it was as if someone turned off the constant alarm in my head. But peace, I learned, doesn't arrive gently. The first 3 days were chaos. Lena messaged me nonstop. Voicemails, texts, emails, even DMs on platforms I forgot I had. Her tone shifted by the hour, furious, begging, vengeful, fake sweet, then back to nuclear rage. Enjoy your oat milk while it lasts. I'm your sister. This isn't you. I told Mom what you did. She's devastated. This is a mental health crisis and you abandoned me. Then came the calls from unknown numbers. Then from relatives I hadn't heard from in years. My aunt in Detroit. How could you turn your back on your parents? Your own mother cried herself to sleep. My cousin Nathan, who once asked me for $5,000 and ghosted me for 3 years. Dude, you always seemed like the responsible one. What's going on? My response was the same to all of them. Ask Lena where the money went. Radio silence after that. Then, day 5, Mom showed up at my door. Alone. No tears this time. Just cold, hard eyes and a Tupperware container. Her version of peace offering. I made your favorite soup, she said. Lena tell you to come? I asked. She's staying with a friend, she replied. Not that it's your concern. Then why are you here? I miss my son, she said. The one who took care of us. You mean the one you used. Don't do this. You're hurting the family. No, I said. I just stopped bleeding for it. She sat down uninvited. Like always. You've always been so dramatic, Alex. This martyr complex. And oh, I snapped, louder than I meant. You don't get to rewrite history. I gave you everything. Paid your rent. Covered Dad's medical bills. Bought Lena's groceries, clothes, therapy, retreats, and bailouts. I watched you give her love and applause and called me stable so you could ignore me. Her lips tightened. I earned my silence, I said. You don't get to guilt me out of it now. She tried to guilt trip me. Threaten health scares. Your father's heart can't take this. She even said Lena's mental health was deteriorating. I didn't flinch. I let her talk. Then I stood up, walked to the door, and opened it. You have 5 minutes to leave. After that, I call security. She looked stunned. You're choosing money over blood? I'm choosing sanity. She walked out. Didn't even take the soup. Week 2. It was quiet. Like eerily quiet. I'd expected them to circle back harder. Some nuclear attempt to shame me publicly. Maybe even lawyers. Instead, nothing. And that scared me more. I found out why on day 15, when I got an email from Lena's ex-boyfriend. Subject: you might want to know this. Inside, screenshots. Emails. Voice notes. She tried to open a credit card in my name a month before she returned from New York. She'd been preparing in case I didn't roll over fast enough. She had all my old documents. She knew my passwords. She used to handle my mail when I traveled. I trusted her. I left too many doors open. That day, I called my lawyer. We filed fraud alerts. I installed cameras. Changed every password. Shut down every connection I had to that family, even the secret emergency account I'd set up for them years ago. Gone. No more parachutes. By week 3, something inside me clicked. I stopped apologizing in my head. I stopped fantasizing about some perfect family reunion where they finally understood. I understood. I understood they didn't love me. They loved what I could do. And now that I had nothing left to give, they had nothing left to say. Week 4. Something wild happened. I started living. Like, really living. I woke up and didn't check my phone for financial disasters. I drank coffee on the patio without planning who'd need a loan this month. I went to a bookstore for the first time in years. Bought a novel I actually wanted to read. I laughed during lunch with coworkers. I joined a gym. I deleted Lena's contact, then Mom's, then Dad's. Each time, my chest felt lighter. Week 6, a letter came in the mail. No return address. Just a single sentence, handwritten. You'll always be the villain in our story. I framed it, hung it in my hallway. A reminder, not of pain, but of freedom. Because I'd rather be the villain in their story than the doormat in mine. I didn't speak to them again. Not for months. Not after the fraud attempt. Not after the guilt letters. Not after the fake health emergencies or the accidental missed calls at 2 a.m. I was done. The man they used? He doesn't live here anymore. The first few weeks felt like detox. I didn't realize how deeply wired I was to check on them. To worry. To plan. To pay. Some days, I'd wake up in a panic, thinking I forgot a payment for Dad's prescription, or Lena's therapy, or the electric bill for an apartment that wasn't even mine. Then I'd remember. None of it is my responsibility anymore. And that clarity? It felt like oxygen in lungs that hadn't truly breathed since I was 11. I stopped apologizing for saying no. I stopped flinching when the phone buzzed. I stopped imagining their voices every time I made a decision for myself. I started eating better, sleeping longer. I started taking weekends off, real ones, without spreadsheets, without budgeting for disasters that weren't mine. I started learning how to be quiet inside. But the silence didn't last, because one day it all came back. Only this time I was ready. It was a Thursday. The sun was out. I had a rare day off. I was halfway through a book I couldn't put down when my neighbor texted me. Some people are banging at your door. Want me to call someone? I stepped outside. There they were. Mom, Dad, Lena, standing on my porch. They looked like ghosts. Not older, just emptier. Like their fuel had run out. Like the lies stopped working, and now they were left with the truth they never wanted to face. He's not coming back. I didn't open the door. I just stared through the glass. Mom mouthed something. So did Lena. Dad looked down. Maybe from shame. Maybe to avoid mine. I didn't hear the words. I didn't need to. I knew what they came for. Not an apology. Not to make amends. They came because the circus had closed and the only clown who ever paid the bills had finally walked out of the tent. So I lifted my hand. Just once. 2 fingers. No. They stayed another minute. Then left. And as their car pulled away, I realized something powerful. They no longer scared me. Their manipulation. Their guilt. Their narrative. Their silence. All of it. Powerless. Weeks passed. Then months. People asked, "Don't you miss them?" And I'd tell the truth. I missed the version of them I imagined. The version I built in my head to survive the one I really had. Because the real version? They taught me that love is conditional. That money equals loyalty. That silence means survival. But now, I don't survive anymore. I live. One night, Lena's ex messaged again. "Guess who just pawned her last handbag?" He wrote. "She's sleeping on couches." I stared at the message, then deleted it. Not out of anger, but because I truly didn't care. I didn't wish her harm. I just stopped carrying her pain. 1 year after I cut them off, I stood in front of the same house they tried to take from me. Same kitchen. Same lemon tree outside the window. But everything inside me had changed. I was no longer haunted. I was healed. Not perfect. Not whole. But free. I got a new phone. New number. New locks. New friends. People who saw me for me. Not as a bank account with a face. Not as the strong one who never broke. Not as the background sibling to someone else's fairy tale. Just me. The man who burned down the family myth and walked out of the ashes stronger. The man who stopped bleeding to prove he was alive. The man who finally learned. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away and never look back. Ending note. If you're reading this and you're the one who always says yes, even when it kills you. If you're the one who was raised to believe your worth is measured by what you give, let this be your permission. You don't owe anyone your destruction, not even family, especially not family. Sometimes walking away isn't betrayal. Sometimes it's the only way to come home to yourself. And when they say you changed, you smile and say, "I had to."